Crossing the line. It is the end of June, the last episode in the first 6 months of the year. And I am late posting this. And I'm late posting this because of timing. Maybe I haven't gotten my thoughts together. I might have questioned how many listeners. I might have questioned what's the point. I have been traveling. I traveled for about 10 days in the month of June, 10, 11, 12, if you count the overnight in a Denver airport, asleep on a cot. And when I travel like that and I get to the end of sort of this, 6 month, end of quarters do this to me, I turn reflective and I think, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? I've had some incredible conversations with people. As you know, Shay Radcliffe was on the podcast last week, and the July 4th episode is with Devaney King and another millennial, two millennials in a row. I'm starting to like them. I have been listening to and I'm reflecting and I'm thinking, and I say to you, okay, how's the last 6 months of the year gone? Because I said this to somebody last week and they kind of got mad at me and gave me the stink eye, like, do you know that Christmas is in 6 months? Yeah, Christmas is in 6 months. And so how's this first 6 months of the year gone? Have you gotten things done that you wanted to get done? Have you stopped to rest or have fun, or are you collecting busy badges and wearing this badge of honor as I'm busy and I'm doing all the things? And I say this because I recorded this podcast with Devaney, and it was a wonderful conversation, and kind of just a precursor to our conversation was just the world is, if you talk to people are kind of down on it, or they're not feeling happy, and hopeless is part of that. And I don't feel that at all. I don't feel that at all. Now, I do feel that when I let the noise in and I let the inane, is that a word? Banter. I'm just going to call it banter. Useless words, a whole bunch of words, wasted words our on what's going on, or listening to all the stuff. Okay, so this is just maybe I don't even know what the title of this is. Maybe it's just Random Thoughts by Cheryl on the last couple of days of June. Do you ever get tired of listening to stuff? I think about the podcasts that I choose to listen to, and some that I even used to listen to and I don't anymore. And when I listen to them and then I turn it off, I say to myself, okay, what is it about it that I turned it off? Why did I turn that off? What is it? And I think it's that the description is, it's doing me no good. It's not helping me. It's not growing me. It's not challenging my mind. It's not causing me to think. It's just a bunch of noise. It's just a bunch of noise. So I've been on airplanes, and you don't realize how noisy the plane is until you try to talk to someone, and then when the noise goes away, you're like, oh, okay, it's not so much noise anymore. And I'm finding all of the, I'm going to call them talking heads, or it's just constant how many podcasts are out there and how is mine different and why does it even matter? Probably doesn't. That's okay. For the however many people have listened, I love it. And I'm hoping you're sharing this because I want to be a voice that matters to you to get you to think differently. So the conversations I've had with Shay and Devaney and the upcoming ones that I'm going to have, how is that different than any other of the other noise? How do you, if you will, you ever been on a path where you're hiking and there's limbs and trees and there's spider webs, and so you put your hands in front of you and you're sort of pushing all the things out of the way. Even maybe when you're swimming, right? You're pushing the water out of the way to get through the water. What is it that makes that matter? That you want to keep listening? And I just finished listening to, and you've heard me talk about Simon Sinek before. Simon Sinek has Brene Brown and Adam Grant on, and it's called Metacognition, or Thinking About Your Thinking. And it wasn't wasted words. It wasn't awesome and great and oh my God, it's the best ever and oh absolutely and all right. I'm starting to be sensitive to some of that and think, what really matters to people? What really matters to people? What causes us to take a deep breath and go, whoa. So Adam Grant and Brene Brown and Simon Sinek were talking about thinking about your thinking. And one of the things that that we're discussing, when you show up kind of as a bad part of yourself, like when do you show up, like when did you do something really well and when did you not do something well? And Simon's comment was, and I'm not quoting this exactly, so I would encourage you to listen, and I'll put that in the show notes, but he said, when I think people are lying to me. So he gave an example. He walks into a restaurant and he says, I went to sit there and there's no one in the restaurant and he wants to sit at this table by the window and the people say, you can't sit there. That's a four top and you're two people. He said, okay, but there's no one else here, but it's a four top table. So in his head, it's like they're lying or it doesn't make sense. It doesn't line up. And when Brene and Adam pushed him on that, what really was the point behind it, it challenges his world view. He views the world in a positive, uplifting, upbeat way, or hopeful. And in that minute, he's like, that doesn't make sense. Why? And it is against his worldview of people are kind and okay, you can sit there if there's nobody else here. How about if I sit here and somebody else comes in, they want this table, I'll get up and move. So let me ask you this. What is your worldview? What do you think your worldview is? And if I ask other people who know you, if you asked other people who know you what they think your worldview is based on how you behave and what you say and what you do and spend time with and listen to and put out in the world, what's your worldview? And are there times when it's challenged? And as you know, I spend a lot of time talking about generations. I spend a lot of time listening and being curious and observing generations. And our worldviews are different. simply because of the ages. Forget the category or the box of traditionalist and Gen Z or whatever. If you were 80 years old, your worldview is different and shaped by very different experiences than a 25-year-old. And I have permission to use this from one of my coaching clients. We were having a call, and she talked. Did I know about the cold water, hot water, and warm water example? And I said, I've never heard that. So years ago, she was in a counseling session or with someone, and they were describing this. So there are three things of water, and okay, cold water, and my hands are in cold water, and someone else's hands are in hot water, and we take them out of there, we put them in warm water. So we're both going to experience warm water experience. We're going to have that. We're going to feel warm water. Our experience of that warm water will be different for each of us based on the previous experiences we had. Did you come from hot water and I came from cold water? So the sensation that we feel in warm water will feel different for each of us because of the experiences we had right before that. Process that. Your experiences in your life shape the sensations that you have in the experience and how you experience something. Okay, which breaks down the walls of this generational piece. Older generations have been through many, many more life experiences just by the nature of living. Now, some people have heavier things, tragedies and struggles, and other people seem to sail through life, right? Which in reality is not true at all. We all have struggle, and my brother says this all the time, you can't skip the steps. So at some point it will get you. So the experiences that we bring to every experience color it, color our world. My world is colored by rural America on a farm, very family oriented, traditional, foundational, faith filled, through the eyes of the lens of Jesus and Christianity and community, this strong. I mean, we saw our grandparents all the time. They were just part of what we did. And I have this, it's sort of this insulated, lovely, sweet world from which I came. And so that, right, colors my experiencing the world. Perhaps that's why I'm hopeful and positive, and I see the best in people. And perhaps that's why I am starting to resist or be overly sensitive to all the noise. If you've ever been in your house and the power has gone out, you think, okay, if you're alone in your house and there's nobody there, and you think, oh, it's so quiet. And then the power goes out, you actually hear how quiet it is. Because the refrigerator hum isn't going, the freezer hum isn't going, all of the other things aren't going. I was hiking and it was absolutely dead silent. And I thought, oh my gosh, my brain has space to think. Like physically, I felt like I could breathe differently. We don't even know how much outside pressure, noise pollution, visual pollution is at us. We don't even know that. It's just the heat has turned up. I lived in California for several years, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, how can people live here? They're like, Cheryl, remember, they've lived here and it's gradually gotten like this, so they don't know it You just jumped right in. I'm like, that's the difference. So if we're going to change it, because it does need to be changed, right? If you look at what's going on, there was a political debate this week, and I'm not typically political, but I'm sad and I'm mortified at what we have as leaders in this country. So I say to young people, this is where I started to have that conversation with Shay a little bit, like what, because I'm hearing out there, and you look in the Wall Street Journal. I read the Wall Street Journal, and there are articles and about Gen Z this and Gen Z that, and how they see it differently. So I'm curious, as this sort of grassroots underlying, I sort of feel like there's this rumbling under a rumbling underneath the um it's a rumbling underneath our world, right? Like underground, sort of like, okay, I'm gonna like earthquake, that's starting to happen, and the plates are starting to shift a little bit. Okay, I believe it can be changed. I believe that it can be. We can go back to, or we can not even go back to, because you can't go back. But how do you go forward and really connect with people? Because it is that one to one conversation. People are not going away. AI is here, robots are here, but people are always going to exist until God says the world is done. People are starving to death for attention, for connection, to matter. Just listen. If you listen with curiosity and not declaration, like I want to be right, or judgment, and you just listen to what they're not saying, you will hear that, because people want an opportunity to tell their story and be heard. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples from my traveling. So I stayed in an Airbnb, and oh my gosh, coolest people. Shout out to them. I don't think I should give their name, but if you want to know where it was, I will tell you. It was at the base of mountains in this really cute town, Lyons, Colorado. And I'm telling you, like, wonderful people. And I had come back from a walk, and they were sitting out. We chatted a little bit, and I knew in an instant that the wife wanted to have a conversation with me, because I asked her something. Well, her parents, okay, I work with farm families, and I facilitate their legacy planning process and their succession, and I do the relational side of that. I ask the hard questions, sort of, therapy or whatever, to go, okay, what do you want? What are you afraid of? What are your hopes and dreams? And okay, so I ask those questions anyway. And then another day, I was sitting out and having lunch, and she came over and we chatted. Her heart was hurting and needed to tell that story, because she needed help, but she didn't know, like, okay, so it was literally, I'm a speck on the planet, and I had that conversation. Then I was in Washington, and I wanted to get some work done. It was a beautiful, I was in Blaine, Washington, at this awesome resort, and I mean awesome, like I was on the edge of Canada. I really do live the best life. And so I'm sitting out there, and there's this woman, and you can tell she is of the older generation, frail little woman, but boy, she's got spunk. And then her daughter. Okay, so their names were Shirley and Liz. So I sat there, and I didn't get diddly squat done. But you know what? I did, because Shirley told me about her husband, and he had been in the Navy, and they'd raised their children. And she missed him every day of her life since he passed away a few years ago. and he this and his stuff. And she told stories and about their kids, and her daughter Liz was there, and they were traveling together. And Liz at times rolled her eyes like, okay, mom does not, just don't give her your phone number because she will call you out of the blue. And but you could also tell there was this unbelievable specialness between the two of them. And I mean, this woman was from Seattle area, and her name is Shirley, and she lives in this really cool house, and they've remodeled, and they've done all these things, and her grand, and isn't that what this is about, right? Like, I could have had my busy badge on. I could have said, I'm sorry, I've got work to do. I'm presenting here in a little bit, and I really need to plan. And what was more meaningful? What was more meaningful? I sat next to a guy on a plane, and he'd been to Iceland, and he was telling me about his kids and people he worked with, and and so you just think, I'm a better person because I didn't put in a podcast and listen to all the noise. I looked at this guy's face and how proud he was of his kids, and a little concerned. And yet he's facing retirement, and he's like, what am I going to do? What's my purpose? And exactly, right? I'm working with a farm family now, and there's a teacher, and she's retired, and the tears just come because she's like, it's really hard because I don't know what I am. I'm have one of my sons has a golden retriever, and I've been dog sitting a little bit, and I describe her as a snuggly piece of Velcro because she is attached. Like, as I record this, she is under my feet. As long as I'm touching her, she's fine. Isn't that how people are? They want us to touch them with our eyes, with a smile, with it. I've kind of done an experiment, and I'm out walking in different places, or, at the airport at 3 in the morning. Okay, even the TSA guy, I stopped him from arresting someone because there was this couple who was absolutely, we'd been in the airport all day. They had missed flights. Their luggage was on its way to Montana. They were, I mean, the tears, this woman was crying, and this TSA guy was like, TSA, and they thought he could help them with a United flight. And it was just this thing. And I was watching this whole thing. And so we got them kind of on their way because the TSA guy was helping me. And the husband turned around, and he goes, and you little, wipe that smirk off your face, or next time I'm by here, I'm going to wipe it off for you. Well, the TSA guy went, what? And he started to get on his radio, and I just looked at him. Now, mind you, this is like 11 o'clock at night. And I said, they're pretty stressed. I said, I could, they look tired. And he looked at me, and he paused, and he took his hand off the radio, and he said, yeah, they probably have had a long day. I said, yeah. He goes, people shouldn't talk to TSA like that. I said, I don't think they realized you were TSA. And you could see he wanted to fight back on that. Like, well, you should know, right? So what's my point here? I'm not exactly sure, which is why I struggled this week with the podcast, because even some of my favorite people, and people who know me know this, Mike Rowe, which I want to be on his podcast. But I've listened to him. I'm a regular listener because I think some of his topics are interesting. But even some of them now, I'm like, why does that matter to me? How is that helping me in my life other than celebrities talking about their amazing life? Because they don't struggle like the normal people do. So I'm asking you, we're at the end of the first half of 2024. How are you different? What has brought you joy? What are some challenges or obstacles that you didn't expect that you've overcome? What kind of noise is in your life that is chipping away at you that at some point is going to get to you? We have Independence Day next week, July 4th. Means something to our country. It's kind of a pivotal, but I kind of look at that differently and say, okay, how do I contribute? How do I contribute in my little space? Because does my, you know, I'm a speck in all of it. My interactions with people, do they feel better or worse after they've spent time with me? Sure, there are times that I really want people to listen to me too. I struggle with aloneness and loneliness like lots of people and think, I just want to be heard. Somebody listen. Don't you know? Like, I want to have these conversations about thinking about your thinking. But who are those people? But at the end of the day, I'm way more joyful and filled up when I approach the world with curiosity, not declaring or judging. And that's been very intentional to overcome because I am a judgmental person. I have thoughts. And as people in my life have said, Cheryl, you state your opinion as if it's fact. Well, it is. If we just would admit that, that would be great. We could move right on. I'm going to continue to talk about generations from the perspective that we're people. I'm going to continue to bring you, hopefully, deep conversations that cause you to think and be uncomfortable or challenge or want to do something different or show up differently or be quieter or take a moment. Because, guys, all of the stuff, you can't take it with you. You don't take other people with you. It's you. It's you. So I think that's my point. I want you to be a better you, which is why the topics are what I talk about, I think, which ties into that legacy piece of we all want to leave something for people, right? So we're at the end of 6 months of the year. Thank you for listening. Always, please rate and review and share because I do want to make a bigger impact with more people. And I can't do that by myself. It takes you saying, oh my gosh, did you listen to this? Like I share those podcasts of Simon Sinek and so on with people. I hope you're sharing this one. Take some time to reflect before next week, before the 4th, before the next 6 months of the year is the runaway train that you jump on and you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's December and now what? What has brought you joy? What has challenged you? I know the answers to those for me. And I'm ending my 6 months of 2024 in a really cool place. Really cool place. Thank you for listening. And until we cross the line next time, I will see you.